going to get in there, not going to sit. They should be all allocated to different bags, and there should be a different storage location. I recommend we do that.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the journey home of 3 spacefarers aboard the Soyuz MS-28 spacecraft. I'm NASA's Leah Cheshire Mustachio, live in the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, where teams are monitoring the crews and the operations aboard the orbiting laboratory. As you can see, it's a little bit more crowded right now in the flight control room as the Orbit 3 team begins to hand over to the Orbit 1 team, who will be on console throughout the evening as we see the Soyuz MS-28 return home.
Okay, copy. Starting that now.
Leading the teams right now in the center of this trio is Flight Director Emily Nelson. She'll be going off console as she served as the Orbit 3 Flight Director. To her left is NASA Flight Director Anthony Varya. He will be the Orbit 1 Flight Director for the evening. And at the top of your screen, NASA astronaut Anne McClain will serve as the Capcom, or the Capsule Communicator. However, she will be speaking with the crew aboard the International Space Station. The crew aboard the Soyuz MS-28 will be speaking with a Russian Capcom, or Capsule Communicator, at the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Koryov, just outside of Moscow. You'll be hearing quite a lot of Russian communications and translation here tonight. Momentarily, we expect to see NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Sergei Mikaev wave their final farewell to their time aboard the International Space Station before boarding the spacecraft that will take them home.
City Moscow ISS on space to ground 1. Go ahead and space to ground 1. I connected and turned on the camera. You can monitor the video for the items listed. We are receiving the video. The angle of view is excellent. There is no need for you to execute additional items. Copy.
Our coverage tonight will start with the crew saying goodbye to their crewmates on the station before boarding the Soyuz MS-28, which arrived at the station's Rassvet module all the way back on November 27th last year. Since that time, and upon their arrival home, the crew will have completed 3,856 orbits of Earth and traveled over 102 million miles. That totals up to a 241-day mission. This is a live view in the Rassvet module aboard the International Space Station looking into the Soyuz MS-28. Hatch is open, as you can see, and no spacefarers inside. Again, we expect to see them give some hugs and potentially some farewell remarks before they board the Soyuz spacecraft, close the hatch, get into their launch and entry suits, and prepare for undocking. A look ahead at some of the milestone times tonight. That undocking will come at 2:03 a.m. Central Time. After undocking, we will stay on the air until we lose sight of the Soyuz spacecraft before we come back on the air for deorbit, burn, and landing. That landing is scheduled at 5:25 a.m. Central Time, which will be 3:25 p.m. Kazakhstan time. Currently in Kazakhstan, it's about 75 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies, so we're hopeful for good views of the Soyuz MS-28 returning under parachutes tomorrow morning. Floating into frame from this live view aboard the International Space Station, looking into the Soyuz MS-28, one of our crew members who will be returning home tonight. That's NASA astronaut Chris Williams. He's wrapping up his first flight to space, logging 241 days. This morning, handover occurred in a traditional change of command ceremony from Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergey Kud-Sverchkov to NASA astronaut Jessica Meir. We've got a clip of that moment, so let's take a look.
Well, it's been a wonderful 8 months on board the International Space Station, and they were not easy, they were not way too difficult, but we definitely had a lot of experience that I'm sure is very important for further space exploration. So many cargo vehicles, dockings, payloads, signs, EVAs are behind, and I would deeply appreciate the help and participation of all corporation, all partners around the world in Europe, Japan, United States, and Russia, and but I think the most important thing is that we been working as a family, as a team, and I want to thank the crew of Expedition 74, including Crew 11 and of course crewmates that are now here on board the station. And yeah, the successful mission couldn't be possible without support, knowledge, dedication, and I want to thank everyone in this module for this mission. So with these words, I want to pass the commanding of the station to my colleague and really good person, Jessica Meir.
Thank you so much, Sergey, for your steadfast leadership during this part of Expedition 74. You have definitely set a tone that united everyone on board, not only as colleagues, but as friends on a shared adventure. Accepting this symbolic key is a profound honor, and it means even more to me that it is coming from you. Ogromное спасибо, мой друг.
My friend.
When we look down at Mother Earth, we see our shared home. But when we look around this station, we see the real engine behind that view, our team. We astronauts get to be up here every day, but every moment of each day, we are keenly aware that we are only here because thousands of people in control centers, back rooms, or at their desks around the globe are waking up every day to set the scene for us. To the rest of our exceptional team who is on the ground, including, of course, our beloved families, thank you for keeping us safe, keeping us moving, and keeping us connected. This mission is ours as much as this mission is yours as much as it is ours. To me, leadership in this extreme environment is about empowering this team. It is about ensuring every single person on this crew has the space, the tools, and the support to be at their absolute best. It means practicing what we call good expeditionary skills, taking care of the station, taking care of each other, and stepping up as both a leader and a dedicated follower when the situation demands it. Our primary goal, without question, is to execute our mission safely, efficiently, and successfully. But science and station maintenance are only part of the legacy that we leave behind. My personal, ultimate goal for all of us is that when our time up here is done and we feel the pull of gravity once again, we don't just return as successful colleagues, but as even better friends than we are today. Looking around at Sergey, and Chris, as they prepare to depart, I am all smiles knowing that we have accomplished that goal thus far. Thank you so much for your hard work and dedication to station, your stimulating conversations and camaraderie, and of course, your magnificent space cakes. You will be missed. We are wishing you a wonderful journey back to planet Earth. I ja желаю вам мягкой посадки.
Thank you so much.
We will do our best to maintain the positive momentum that you imparted. For those of us remaining up here, let's look out for one another, keep laughing, and continue pushing the boundaries of human discovery. Thank you, and welcome to Expedition 75. This mission belongs to all of us.
Not every day you get a space hug with 10 astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the International Space Station, but that's what we got today after that handover from Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergey Kud-Sverchkov, who's returning tonight, to NASA's Jessica Meir. On the left side of your screen here in this live view from the International Space Station's Rassvet module, looking into the Soyuz MS-28, floating out of frame now, Pyotr Dubrov. Roscosmos cosmonaut just recently arrived to the International Space Station on Soyuz MS-29. Spaceflight is a team sport, and so although Dubrov is not returning tonight, he is assisting the crew members in preparing the Soyuz MS-28 for its departure. Expedition 75 will officially begin tomorrow morning at 2:03 a.m. Central Time when the hooks securing Soyuz to Rassvet are opened and the crew begins their journey home. That spacecraft bringing home the crew, again, is the Soyuz MS-28. It's a Russian spacecraft composed of 3 segments, as you see here. Those total a length of about 24.5 feet. That upper portion, the orbital module, it's a little more spherical. That includes the rendezvous antennas and the docking probe that will be activated upon the undocking command being sent. And this piece does not return home. However, what does return home is the center section, the descent module. That's where we will see the crew enter enter after they have closed the hatches, and where they'll put on their Sokol launch and entry suits and strap into their designated seats for the ride home. This segment also holds the life support and the guidance, navigation, and control systems. The lower portion is the propulsion module, and this piece also will not return to Earth. This houses the engines and the other instruments necessary to maneuver the Soyuz during activities like the deorbit burn. And again, that deorbit burn is scheduled to bring the crew down out of Earth's orbit tonight at 4:31 a.m. Central Time. The International Space Station itself is flying 265 statute miles over the Indian Ocean, just crossing over into an orbital daytime. The space station travels about 17,500 miles an hour, which is 5 miles a second, meaning they see 16 sunrises and sunsets every day. Again, this is a live view from the International Space Station. Roscosmos cosmonaut Pyotr Dubrov on the left side of your screen. Momentarily, we expect to see the Soyuz MS-28 crew, consisting of NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergey Mikaev and Sergey Kud-Sverchkov, say their farewells to their crew members aboard the International Space Station before boarding the Soyuz MS-28. Right in the center of your screen, those hatches still open. They will then close the hatch and prepare for undocking. Undocking scheduled for 2:03 a.m. Central Time. It's a very short ride home, considering we are anticipating their landing at 5:25 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. That'll be 3:25 p.m. in Kazakhstan. We're going to take a look at an animation that will walk us through the steps of the Soyuz MS-28 returning home. That will begin with the undocking of the spacecraft from the Rassvet module on the space station at 2:03 a.m. Central Time. That's when springs on both sides of the docking interface will push off against each other and allow that physical separation. Coming up next will be a deorbit burn scheduled for 4:31 a.m. Central Time. That'll last 4 minutes, 42 seconds and slow the Soyuz spacecraft down by 128 meters per second, which will be just enough to drop it out of Earth's orbit for a high-speed re-entry into the atmosphere. At 4:59 a.m. Central Time, the three portions of the Soyuz module will pyrotechnically separate, leaving the orbital module and the propulsion module to burn up in the atmosphere, while that center descent module, with its three crew members on board, will have its heat shield forward to the direction of travel. It'll protect the crew from the heat buildup, reaching about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And once the crew is out of the plasma regime, which will last about 5 minutes, a series of parachutes will open. First, 2 pilot parachutes, then a drogue chute, and lastly, the one main chute that will glide the spacecraft down in a 15-minute descent, from the time parachutes deploy to the soft landing engines firing just about 2 seconds before touchdown on the steppe of Kazakhstan, about 92 miles southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. Again, current weather outside of Zhezkazgan today, about 75 degrees Fahrenheit at this time with clear skies. So we're hopeful we will get views of Soyuz floating down under its orange and white parachute and see our crew members returning home.
Station 1 for video coverage. Go ahead. We are ready to begin. Yes, please go ahead. Please say your goodbyes to the departing crew.
We're in a brief handover of the tracking data and relay satellite systems that we use to communicate with the International Space Station. We track these handovers and expect to regain communication with the crew aboard the space station very shortly. Meanwhile, this look inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, where we are reporting live and covering the Soyuz MS-28 return. The Orbit 3 team is completing their handover to the Orbit 1 team, who will remain on console through the return of the crew members tonight. This room is staffed 24/7 and has been for over 26 years now. We're back with live views from the International Space Station in the Rassvet module as we see crew members floating in and out of frame, preparing to say farewell and board the Soyuz MS-28. There in the center of your screen, smiling and taking some final photos aboard the space station, NASA astronaut Chris Williams wrapping up his first mission aboard the space station, 241 days in space. Now in the center of your screen, Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergey Kud-Sverchkov. He was the commander of the International Space Station before that handover with NASA astronaut Jessica Meir this morning. He is joined to his right by Sergei Mikaev and to his right by NASA astronaut Chris Williams. That is the Soyuz MS-28 crew. Again, 241 days aboard the International Space Station.
Moscow Station, Station 1. We are ready to close the hatch. Copy, you have a go. We see the smiling faces. Good to see everyone, and we can't wait to greet the crew on the ground. Copy.
Pyotr Dubrov preparing the hatch seal before closing that hatch and waving farewell to the crew members of Soyuz MS-28. Again, NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Sergei Mikaev. Roscosmos cosmonaut Pyotr Dubrov closing the hatch on the station side to the Soyuz MS-28 spacecraft, waving farewell to the crew members who are returning tonight. NASA astronaut Chris Williams, Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Mikaev and Sergei Kud-Sverchkov, wrapping up 241 days in space.
Moscow station, space to ground 1, MRM-1, Soyuz SU hatch is closed. Pyotr, we copy. Thank you for the report. And you can deactivate the video. Copy.
This is a live view from the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Koryov, outside of Moscow, where team members are monitoring the activities aboard the space station, but of course aboard Soyuz MS-28 as we prepare for it to return home. Now, we saw the station hatch close for Soyuz. However, we are standing by for the hatch closure aboard the Soyuz spacecraft itself. With hatch closure having been completed on the space station side. Again, standing by for confirmation of Soyuz hatch closure. Meanwhile, in Kazakhstan, the NASA team members supporting landing have departed their hotels in Karaganda to board a Russian aircraft that will take them to the town of Zhezkazgan. That is where they will eventually board the helicopters that will take them to the landing site. We anticipate those helicopters to depart for that landing site, which is about 92 miles south of Zhezkazgan, at approximately the time of the deorbit burn. Again, that deorbit burn scheduled for 4:31 a.m. Central Time. Again, this is Mission Control Houston. The hatch has been closed on the Rassvet side of the International Space Station ahead of a Soyuz hatch closure. Once that hatch closure is complete, the crew will put on their Sokol launch and entry suits and conduct leak checks as well as communication checks and make sure the Soyuz systems and controls are properly configured before undocking. Undocking scheduled for 2:03 a.m. Central Time. Before we get to that, though, the crew will also be in the Soyuz spacecraft, and the time in that time frame will be spent equalizing the pressurization across the vestibule between Soyuz and the space station, depressurizing it to a vacuum in preparation for undocking. Essentially a reverse process of what happens when a crew arrives and that vestibule area needs to be pressurized. This is Mission Control Houston here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. However, you're looking at a live view of the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. We just saw the 3 crew members board the Soyuz MS-28 spacecraft. That's NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Sergey Mikaev. We are standing by for confirmation of Soyuz hatch closure before we sign off for the evening. And again, we are anticipating the undocking to happen at 2:03 a.m. Central Time.
Moscow, Krechets. Go ahead. We have completed closure of the BOSU hatch covers. Per page 33, we verified SSVP and issued all SSVP commands. Right now, we are executing SPGS screen steps. Copy. I'm looking to get a confirmation on the suit check, successful completion, and the activation of the suits. Stand by. Suit check complete. Suit completeness verified. Copy. Please confirm activation of the suit is complete. Per the steps that we have performed, activation is complete. Copy. Please continue.
This is Mission Control Houston.
Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston confirming the Soyuz hatch is closed. That happening at 10:45 p.m. Central Time. That means the crew of MS-28, NASA astronaut Chris Williams and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergey Kud-Sverchkov and Sergei Mikaev are one step closer to their return to Earth after 241 days in space.
RPV-1 is open at 6:47.
With their farewells and hatch closure complete, we are going to sign off until we resume our coverage. That'll be at 1:30 a.m. Central Time for undocking at 2:03 a.m. Central Time. Again, we're looking forward to seeing the crew of Soyuz MS-28 returning home. For now, this is Mission Control Houston.